Peacemaker Season 2 has officially ended, and it's apparent that there's flaws with James Gunn being the CEO for DC. Now, don't get me wrong, he still is my favorite comic book director. I mean, the man made Guardians of the Galaxy and Superman. The dude is an absolute legend. However, with this new season of Peacemaker, I couldn't help but notice how him being the Kevin Feige of DC really affected the narrative. Although this was the case, I still fairly enjoyed the season. The story, the characters, and the jokes were all great, but it felt like something was missing. And as someone who loves the previous season so much, in fact, I believe it's the best thing he's ever made, I was left a little disappointed with this one. But of course, before we delve into why that's the case, be sure to watch the entirety of Season 2 if you haven't. Honestly, I don't know why you'd be here if you haven't already, but be sure to go do so. Don't worry, I'll be here waiting. Oh, you're back? Welcome. Now we both know the spoilers that I'm going to be saying throughout the whole video. Also, since you're back, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this. And yeah, I know, I need a haircut, but it'll get fixed up in the next video, don't worry. So, with that out the way, let me dive into my first thoughts of Peacemaker Season 2. Peacemaker Season 2 can be described as passing the test, but not with a high grade. James Gunn really gave it his all with Season 1 in my opinion. I loved seeing the characters interact with each other, the story progressing in a way that felt impacted to the DC universe, but wasn't too impactful, and being created in a way that felt with pure passion and love. You can tell James Gunn had love for that story, so when Season 2 got announced, clearly it was going to hype me up. However, when you're watching it, you notice that this season is not really about Peacemaker. In fact, it low-key felt like one of those filler episodes from Naruto. See, Gunn knew that DC was being rebooted and had to tie these storylines together, which is great, but he went overboard with it this season in my opinion. As I felt like I barely saw Peacemaker do anything this season. Actually, I'm pretty sure I can summarize his arc in one sentence. Man goes to a universe where he's perceived as a saint and is loved, realizes the universe is a big no-no, and gets saved by his friends where he realizes that he is in fact loved by them. That is literally what happened to Peacemaker throughout the entire season. Which kind of sucks, because Peacemaker Season 1 had him follow a path of self-belonging and not being somebody's puppet. This kind of leads me to my next point, which is the fact that Peacemaker kind of had the same storyline between both seasons. Like, think about it, he puts himself in these situations because he doesn't listen to his heart and instead listens to other people, thus putting him in a bad position. This literally happens in Season 2, where he goes off to Earth X because he's listening to his mind telling him that no one cares about him in his own universe. Yeah, I know I'm considering his mind as a separate entity, but you can see the similarities. Another issue this season had was the fact that most of the episodes' runtimes were about 30 minutes. Now, normally in TV shows, this isn't an issue because they plan stuff out for the story to be entertaining for the full season. Unfortunately though, with this season, most of the episodes were just one storyline that could have been just 1 or 2 episodes. Truthfully, I don't understand why we had 3 episodes about the 11th Street kids moving a door from one place to another. Also, don't get me started on that Eagly plotline. It was completely pointless. Yeah, I understand it was humorous, but if we're taking any time away from the actual show just for jokes, then what's the point of developing the narrative in the first place? Especially since James himself said that Season 2 was going to be more emotional than the last season. Don't get me wrong, it was, but most of the emotional aspects were apparent in a handful of episodes. Since we're on the topic of James talking about the show, we need to mention him overhyping this season. Before anything, I have to say that I do appreciate James talking with the fans. This is something I wish Feige did because it makes the community feel tighter and connected. Nonetheless, Gunn tends to do this thing where he hypes it up too much, causing the fans to set the bar really high. If I can find the exact words, I'll put it up on the screen right now, but he claimed that the last 3 episodes were going to be insane cameos and that his next film, Man of Tomorrow, is highly connected to the finale of this show. Even though he said this, the cameos ended up being Lex and his goons from Superman, and the finale just had Peacemaker stranded in some universe. This just feels extremely underwhelming because 1, he confirmed that there's no Season 3, so we have to wait 2 years for a continuation. 2, this drove away from the major plotline of Peacemaker, finally accepting that the 11th Street kids are his home. And 3. Who sat around thinking these level 1 crooks would be the major cameos? Seriously, Gunn, that's like me wishing Sitwell from the Winter Soldier is going to cameo in Doomsday. Realistically, no one is thinking like that. Also, I just want to make it very clear that I don't really care for major cameos in a show like this. Like, I'm not in this MCU delusional mind where it's just like, oh, I need cameo candy for me to like a show. That's not the case. I'm just saying, if you're going to hype up cameos, you better make it, meaningful cameos for people to actually, care for. Now, I also understand that hyping stuff up for the sake of hyping stuff up is the point of it. But it just feels like Gunn took advantage of his relationship with the fans for that one. Like, if anything, I'm probably not going to trust his word next time, nor should you in that regard. I feel like I also have to mention the music within the season, because everyone seems to be annoyed by it. In my opinion, I don't mind the music elements of the season. I can see where the criticisms lie, as there were moments where the narrative just suddenly turned into a music video for some odd reason. Nevertheless, music telling the story was always a part of Peacemaker, and even though he overdid them just a tad, it doesn't completely ruin the whole season for me. One last gripe before I get into the things I enjoyed was Rick Flag Sr. His whole character feels so rushed to me. I remember after watching the finale, my friends and I were talking about it, and one of them literally said, "Why does Rick Flag from this show feel like a different character than the one in Creature Commandos?" After I heard that, I realized his whole character arc was rushed. I understand what Gunn was going for with his character, and I fairly enjoyed what he did, but I can't help myself to notice that Rick went from being a good dude, doing the best he can, to some overarching maniac wanting to find vengeance for his son by any means possible. Truthfully, there's no way this version of Flag would have worked with Lex. I don't think 3 projects were enough to properly convey his character. Part of me feels like it's not entirely Gunn's fault, because he is rebooting the franchise, but if we're being real, he could have planned it a little bit better. Regardless, we are finally up to what I enjoyed about this season, because it is still a pretty solid installment of Peacemaker. Firstly, Vigilante is just fucking stupid. I could literally watch an entire show dedicated to him, and I know some of you out there would do the same. That scene where he found his doppelganger is going to be one of the top moments for any comic book project for me. It's just too iconic not to think so. I do wish Vigilante had more character development this season, but I get why he didn't. I just hope whatever Gunn does with him next, he makes sure he gives him proper development. I'm not really sure if the whole Deadpool shtick will work for me forever, because it feels like there's a lot more you could do with him. This perfectly segues to the next thing, which was Earth X. The Earth X reveal was obvious, but only if you were paying attention to the background. This is how you properly do a reveal, in my opinion. Having the fans create all these insane theories each week just for the reveal to still hit was one of the best moments of this season. Unfortunately, just like everything else this season, the Earth X plotline was still underbaked, as it only mattered for about 2 episodes, them being the ones where the 11th Street kids enter the universe and them escaping it. Speaking of them escaping, leaving Keith alive just for him to not appear in the finale was such a missed opportunity in my opinion. They could have set him up to be the next big bad for Peacemaker and the gang, but instead just left his story ambiguous. So I really hope that Gunn returns to him, because his interaction with Peacemaker would be a great sight to see. Especially knowing that he's most likely going to go on a revenge arc, and I have a feeling that Peacemaker is probably going to bring him back into the light, and hopefully he'll join Checkmate and the rest of them. Anyways, the whole Earth X plotline should have been the entire season, even the finale. That plotline felt like a perfect continuation to season 1. Especially with the twist that his dad in that universe is a good person. I really don't know why Gunn felt the need to have the Eagly storyline instead of focusing on Earth X. I hope that it wasn't anything to do with Warner Brothers or anything. If it was solely Gunn's doing, then he took a major L by not fully fleshing out that plotline, cause bro, there was so much you could do with it. It was honestly the most interesting part of the show for this season. Like, at one point, I thought Peacemaker was going to work with Superman to take down Overman or something. Or G.I. Robot was going to enter the portal and start taking down the entirety of Earth X or something. Another thing they could have done is have Earth X want to rule over the main universe and probably want to expand across the multiverse. They could also have his dad sacrifice himself to protect Chris. This could have all been great ways to end the show, but instead Gunn focused on the DCU aspect rather than Peacemaker. Lastly, a great thing about this season was Cena's acting. I'm sorry if you disagree, but Cena is the best wrestler turned actor for me. His potential is just off the charts. If you compare his acting from season 1 to 2, you could drastically tell the improvements. This was overly apparent with the scene of the 11th Street kids about to uninstall his brother, and Chris just starts yelling, breaking down. When I first saw this, I was blown away, cause you could really feel the pain coming out of Cena's voice. I hope he does more serious roles, since I could truly see him being a top-notch actor. There's a world where people will take him as seriously, if not more, than Batista. At this current moment, that's not the case, but if he does more serious stuff, then he could end up being a big name. If I had to rank Gunn's projects this year, Superman is his best, followed by Creature Commandos, and Peacemaker Season 2 being the last. With that being said, that is all I really have to say about Peacemaker Season 2. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. While you're at it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. If you're wondering, I'd give this season a solid 7 out of 10, as it was severely underbaked and I know Gunn could do better. That being said, the season was still pretty enjoyable, so I gotta give props for that. Regardless, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch y'all when I review Gen V Season 2. Later.